a.m., everyone. Can we hear me okay? Excellent. Thank you so much for joining and for being here as part of ETHDenver 2024. All right, sorry, I'm a little shorter than our last speaker, so we'll have to adjust. Appreciate the guidance here. So I'm going to introduce myself progressively, starting with the earliest on-chain forms of identity and building up to the on-chain identity that we enjoy today, where we'll discuss how Intents and AI can bring this identity to life beyond our existing protocols. The aggregation of your identity is a signal of intent. It shows your past patterns of who you are, what you like, who you hang out with, and where you spend your time and treasure. So today, we're going to talk about how we can learn who you are starting with your keys, and how we, as builders, can create experiences around that signal. But if you really want to be friends on chain and skip my introduction, you can scan the QR code and connect with my wallet directly. To begin this progressive introduction, first we have my public key. On June 30th, 2015, Ethereum mainnet launched, and users got their very first form of on-chain identity, a public address. But if I just introduce myself to all of you with this address, we're not going to have a great conversation. The only way we can talk to each other is to send ETH from one wallet to another. So enter the second form of on-chain identity, tokens. If you look at my wallet, you can see that my address has ETH mapped to it. So you know there is token value associated with that public key, but you're going to have to do some digging to understand how it got there. Was it wanted, unwanted, stolen, airdropped, gifted? We need a little bit more information to understand. You can also see that I have signed things with my keys, so you know that they're being used. But you still don't know very much about me. By the looks of it, I could be a bot. The next form of identity on-chain that evolved was the ERC20 on top of Ethereum. In October of 2015, one of the first was Augur, a prediction market, to launch such a token. If we look closely, you'll see that I have 75 friends with benefits tokens. So these don't just represent financial value, but also access to events, content, and a Discord channel. The fact that I still hold these tokens through bull and bear markets means that I have diamond hands, and that I may value access to that community more than the value of selling at the top. Based on holding these tokens, you might guess that I know some other token holders because we have access to the same spaces, chat channels, and parties, or that I care about culture on chain because of the mission of FWB. You might see that I did not purchase these tokens, but rather they were sent to me, which means that I either received them in a very nice error, or a good friend was being very kind and welcoming to me in order to allow me to join the community. Now, in November of 2017, CryptoKitties pioneered the ERC721, and so now we have more tokens to give context to who I am in front of all of you on this stage. Unlike ERC20s, each ERC721 has a unique token ID. The first set of NFTs that we see here signal that I'm a fan of the artist Dave Krugman. And I've purchased these tokens of his photography specifically so I could own unique photographs that Dave has taken of rain in New York City. You will also see that I have a couple NFTs that were created by a group of independent artists and experimenters, and that the holders of this collection include active wallets that hold similar NFTs to mine, like Crypto Dick Butts. So you know I got the alpha. You could also surmise that holding these assets signals a similar taste profile, so you might be able to consider those addresses like mine. As we know, NFT utility can extend far beyond art alone. If we look more closely, some of these NFTs signal token gating access and support. So for example, from this you can see that I support Shibuya, the project led by People Pleaser, Pool Together, as indicated by my Friends of Pool NFT that I minted, G-Money and his Admit1 experiment, as well as Boys Club, which is a global community of women and non-binary people in Web3. So if you identify that way, please visit boysclub.vip and join us. So here you can see that these NFTs now signal not only affiliation and affinity, but also my financial power. Now here, we can see the next form of on-chain identity that's a little bit more human readable, ENS. Now show of hands, who has an ENS name here today? Excellent. So we are all pretty familiar with the fact that this allows us to create a human-readable identifier, an alias for our address that makes it easier for others to find us. However, that address can include profile traits that we write down ourselves that are not always accurate. So, I thought it would be funny to map my ENS to @Paris Hilton on Twitter, but obviously that is not true. I am not Paris Hilton. And similarly, I am not the creative director of the fashion house Chloe, and yet I own GabriellaHurst.eth. And so here we see the difference between self-attested data and independently verifiable data. So things that I say about myself that may or may not be true versus things that you can validate. Now here, we see a little bit more recent evolution of on-chain assets and identity. You can see that I own some real-world assets in my wallet. Real-world assets in the form of domain names that are controlled by my keys, so they are not subject to front-end DNS hacks like many other traditional domains. This is like a handshake between my keys and the domains, showing that they are all controlled by the same person, me. So in order to buy these domains, I had to fill out a whois form stored on an encrypted proxy. I also have POAPs that signal I obtained these assets from the creators of the corresponding events. So for example, that I met Patricio from POAP in person. However, there's a red herring hiding in here because I did not attend the Kygo show in New York City in July. In fact, I wasn't even in the state of New York. And so here we see the difference between mapping a token to your keys and being able to validate what that token represents. We've moved as an ecosystem from mere transactions to meaningful interactions. Kind of like, the movement from liking someone's post to actually commenting on it to collecting it on-chain through a Lens protocol client interface. Here we can see even more of my identity, that I have received a credential from Glacier, so I'm interested in decentralized physical infrastructure and qualify for their upcoming airdrop. That I own NFTs and other wallets for which I can prove that custody, and the fact that I utilize Coinbase and am a verified user. Additionally, I can be the subject of peer-to-peer attestations, such as on-chain attestations like EIS that signal that other people think I know a lot about Web3. However, those attestations are only as trusted as the party who said them. And so again, we need a little bit more context. Now, if we dig into the accounts that I have associated with my public key, we can start to reach beyond the chain and see what else I have secured by my public key, but and therefore made available for others to discover. You can see on the Disco platform that I have associated assorted social handles, such as a Twitter handle and a Discord handle. Now, these associations, unlike ENS, are a handshake where both handles have to agree to be associated with each other. If you follow through to my Twitter account, you'll see that I'm a member of an organization called InkDAO, which means we all have matching ERC 721 tattoos in the EIP font because we're committed to public immutability. You've learned quite a lot about me since we started this conversation, and so now we're starting to extend into ways that my keys relate beyond the chain to who I am standing in front of you. Last fall, in partnership with our fellow builders at Gossip Protocol and Kiki World, we created a full-stack fingertip on-chain experience. The Kiki team developed an NFC chip-embedded fingernail that I have glued on my hand today if you want to check it out later. And Disco released the world's first wallet-to-wallet decentralized contact exchange using private data, allowing you to relate a variety of social handles to your address and to create bidirectional proofs with everyone who taps your hand or interacts with you. And to shortcut that experience, the QR code that I shared at the very beginning is the same flow, so you can all enjoy it. Here we have a little bit of coverage of this experiment from our friends at 1:37 p.m., although you also may have seen this in Vogue Business or on the runway at New York Fashion Week a few weeks ago. Here we've got our friend and fellow builder Stani modeling what these look like. And so this interaction enables people to tap a fingernail, connect their wallet or email, and exchange that contact information to continue their relationship on-chain in a way that no app can take away from them, and they can choose to carry anywhere. So shout out to the Avra family modeling here, and also Lens protocol, which is now permissionless. So everyone go sign up at lens.xyz. So if we dig in a little bit more deeply, what's behind what's going on in my fingernail here? If you were to look at the social graph I've created around my address, you'll see that I have a bunch of new friends from the conference so far. Some know each other and some don't, as evidenced by the graph of these connections that I have created. Now, on the back end, these are all signed pieces of verifiable data that can be easily read by a smart contract or application or even an agent. These proofs of in-person interaction show that for these particular individuals, their phone touched my hand. But, for example, I have known a guy named Igor Lilich on this list since 2018, but I only saw him recently 2 days ago. And so we don't necessarily have all of the context of what happened before these interactions. At Disco, both from the social layer and the entity layer, our interfaces combine data from both Web 2 and Web 3 to provide a more holistic picture of who you are. So not only can you identify this great variety of traits, but also you as an ecosystem lead or growth leader can understand how to interact with people more capably based on their expression. Whether that is understanding what we call the legit score, or what is the likelihood that this address embodies the traits that you are seeking, to the credentials that attest to where this individual might spend time or where I might be reading newsletters or hanging out inside of apps. So now we have quite a lot to work with. Based on the data that we have explored both on and beyond the chain secured by my keys, please allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Evin. I'm the founder of Disco.xyz, also known as this beautiful larva lad here. And if you want to prove that we interacted with each other in person, you can go ahead and scan that QR code to connect your wallet or email address. So, in summary, based on the data that we reviewed here today, I am the founder of Disco, but I'm also known as Evin.eth. You can find me as proven authority on Twitter or on Lens or at Evin on Farcaster. I've got an 80 out of 100 legit score based on what I've decided to share, so I could probably do a little bit better. I use the she, her pronouns as I have attested in my profile, and I prefer the English language for reading documentation and interacting with others. I'm a newsletter subscriber, a big fan of a few of those, and I am based in the United States, often active between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. I own keys. I own tokens, both fungible and non-fungible. I own domain names, I own social handles, and I own a body. I support Pull Together. I support Shibuya, I support Boys Club and Bankless, NFT Now, Pleaser DAO, 9DCC, and POAP. I spend time with and interact with people who also are on the Disco team and affiliated with the Disco ecosystem, but I also am a member of Boys Club, an active member in InkDAO, a participant in FWB, a fan of G-Money's multiple projects from Admit1 to 9DCC and beyond, a member of the DGen Alpha Chat Chab Team 6, a member of the multisig of Alongside DeFi, and a member in the center of my own social graph, where I, like this disco ball, am the multifaceted center of the party, reflecting my identity to the world, however I decide. I like identity technologies, crypto, music, and art. You can see from the type of data that I have that I'm involved in decentralized identity as a way to express those traits. I enjoy niche technical standard jokes, as evidenced by both my memes and my tattoos. I'm a participant in decentralized social. You can find my graphs on both centralized and decentralized social platforms. And based on my affinity for 9DCC, Enso Collective, Gossip Protocol, and others, I'm also into on-chain fashion. I'm sharing my identity, which extends Ethereum's security beyond the chain with verifiable signatures, in the same way that restaking allows us to extend the security of the protocol. My patterns of behavior, preferences, and traits signal a past history of intents that you can anticipate and predict. However, guided by my continuing activity, will be made more precise over time. We identified a few red herrings along the way, pieces of data that are presented equally along those that are more accurate, but might not lead us to the right path. For example, the fact that I'm mapped to @ParisHilton on chain, and that looks the same as being mapped to any other Twitter handle. That I didn't actually attend the Kygo show at the Brooklyn Mirage, for which I have a cool NFT. That I did not obtain the unwanted airdropped tokens that are mapped to my public key that you might see and associate with me, even though I did not intend to own them. I own ENSs that do not relate to my actual identity, nor any of the projects I'm affiliated with. I actually bought them to gift them, which highly recommend to everybody if you're onboarding new friends into Web3. And then lastly, we've got a few instances of folks who I actually knew many years ago, but I only have proofs of interacting with them IRL that are recent. So to review our history, we have marched from addresses to tokens to ENS, NFTs, attestations, verifiable data, and now enough information to inform an agent and have it act on my behalf or provide recommendations to me. On-chain addresses have evolved from a simple name to a multifaceted expression spanning beyond chains and beyond Web3 itself. I have gone from a pile of tokens in front of you to your new friend, Evin. At Disco, we describe intents as an action undertaken with a desire to create a state change. It's not explicitly about DeFi, it's about human intention. This means when we do an action, we can achieve a desired outcome. All of the identity signal that I have provided here today is like a non-financial intent, illustrating my interests, my social connections, where I spend my time and resources. This data can be used to identify the types of apps, services, protocols, and communities that are well suited to me without me having to hunt them down. Identity data shortcuts the labor of search, making it easy for agents, in-app and on-chain, to mold experiences around us, personalized to our preferences. This capability means that we can lower the switching costs of moving from one app to another, eliminate the need to fill out forms when you join a new experience, and also facilitate fun competitive activities such as cross-chain vampire attacks. With all this data, personal agents can understand our preferences and actions in a computer legible and verifiable way. They can curate recommendations, help us engage with brands, or even manage how our data is disclosed. It's like having a Jarvis for your on-chain life. Signature resolution is the key to this overlap, where data signed by on-chain keys creates an agent-legible expression. Signatures show provenance of data which can be interpreted as reputation when you compute on the aggregate metadata of an address relative to others. I see AI and blockchain as perfect companions, just as our speaker before was saying. AI is an infinite creation and curation machine that can wield a signing key. And blockchains are write once, never erase signature chains of attribution that can self-execute code. Signing and signature resolution are the core of this way forward and what the aggregation of our intents expressed with on-chain identity will look like. We're already seeing real-world examples of how multifaceted identity can lead to future benefits. From flashing your InkDAO tattoo to cut the line and get into a member-hosted event, to Kith, the streetwear company retroactively rewarding previous purchases with loyalty points, or abundant global marketplaces of open service APIs from Uber to DoorDash, just waiting for agent-based interactions driven by your identity and preferences and paid by your wallet. If your team is interested in crafting personalized experiences tailored to the identity of your ecosystem, if you're interested in identifying audiences like yours across chains and welcoming them into your project or your protocol, if you're excited about building coordination games beyond treasury allocation and introducing yourself with more than your public key, please come talk to me and let's build together. To wrap up, a blockchain is way more than just a set of transactions. Your public and private key pair enables you to craft a digital identity that carries weight, meaning, and even a bit of swagger. Your blockchain address isn't just an alphanumeric string, it's a narrative of your digital life if you choose for it to be. And as we look into the future, that narrative can become more personalized, more fun, more joyful, and more relevant to activities and coordination beyond just spending money. I'll bet anyone here that more transactions will be executed by agents than humans at ETHDenver 2028. And I think identity and intent aggregation is the reason that will be so. So here's to building a future where our on-chain identities are as rich and complex as we are. Thank you so much, ETHDenver. You've been an amazing audience today. Please schedule a demo with my team and say hello to start building together. My name is Evin McMullen, IRL and on-chain, and I'll see you all in the metaverse.